The 20th century had barely begun when Europe was shaken by a single event that would ignite a global conflict. In the streets of Sarajevo, a young nationalist named Gavrilo Princip fired the shot that killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. The world would never be the same. This assassination set off a chain reaction, plunging Europe into war as nations honored their alliances. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and soon the continent was engulfed in flames. From 1914 to 1918, Europe was locked in a brutal stalemate. On the Western Front, millions of soldiers faced death not only from bullets but from disease, hunger, and the elements. Trench warfare defined World War I, with the Battle of the Somme claiming over 1 million lives. In 1918, the guns fell silent, but peace was far from secure. The Treaty of Versailles placed harsh terms on Germany, sowing the seeds of resentment and economic hardship. It would not be long before the world would once again be thrust into chaos. In the years following World War I, Germany struggled under the weight of the Treaty of Versailles. This was fertile ground for a young radical named Adolf Hitler, who promised to restore Germany to its former glory. By 1939, Hitler had consolidated power and launched a campaign of expansion across Europe. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France declared war. World War II had begun. World War II was a truly global war. From the deserts of North Africa to the frozen streets of Stalingrad, and from the skies over London to the Pacific Islands, the conflict raged across continents and oceans. It was a war of ideologies, democracy versus fascism, freedom versus tyranny. Behind the battle lines, a horror unimaginable was taking place. Hitler's regime orchestrated the Holocaust, the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews, alongside millions of Romani, disabled individuals, and others deemed undesirable. In 1944, the tide began to turn. On June 6th, the Allies launched Operation Overlord, known as D-Day. It was the largest amphibious invasion in history, marking the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. By May 1945, Nazi Germany had fallen. Hitler took his own life as Soviet forces entered Berlin. But in the Pacific, the war still raged. In August 1945, the US dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, forcing Japan to surrender. The Second World War was the deadliest conflict in human history, with an estimated 70 to 85 million lives lost. In its aftermath, the world sought to rebuild and prevent future global conflicts. The United Nations was established, and a new era of geopolitical tension, the Cold War, began. Though the war ended in 1945, its legacy shaped the world we live in today, from the creation of international organizations to the emergence of superpowers like the US and Soviet Union. As we look back on the world wars, we remember the sacrifice, the suffering, and the lessons learned. The world can never forget these two great conflicts which changed the course of history forever.